session that we have for you today on our first day, how $52 billion beverage giant AB InBev disrupted grocery and beverage distribution in emerging markets. I'm joined today by Riddhi Shah, who represents Zetec, an AB InBev company, Shannon Hain from Adobe, as well as Tom McFadyen, who's the president and CEO of McFadyen Digital. So Tom, I'd love to hear from you a little bit about this session before we go in and get started with our questions.
Thanks, Andrew. We're honored to present here with our client, AB InBev, Zetec, Riddhi Shah, and Shannon from Adobe. This project is a marketplace which is really disrupting the food and beverage distribution in Latin America and future other markets with AB InBev. And Riddhi will talk a bit about that. McFadyen Digital has been implementing marketplaces for about 12 years, cumulatively generating billions of dollars across all of our clients with these marketplaces. And AB InBev Zetec is no different than that in terms of the success of this early stage platform. McFadyen Digital has been implementing e-commerce for about a quarter century for several dozen of the Fortune 500, including clients like AB InBev. In this session, we'll talk about Me Mercado, where Riddhi will give us a great overview of this innovative business model and talk about their motivations driving this marketplace. And I'll talk a little bit about the architecture, technology, and some of the innovations that we are delivering through this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So as Tom mentioned, we're going to be covering Me Mercado, and I'd like to now ask Riddhi to get us started by just explaining. Could you tell us, Riddhi, a little bit more about memercado.com? What exactly is this website and the purpose for it?
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrew. Just before I talk about Me Mercado, I want to take a step back and talk about Zetec and how it came to be. As AB InBev, we noticed a trend of digitization in the B2B market for food and beverages. Our global reach as a company gives us good visibility of what's coming next. So we decided to enter in the market of Mexico full stream ahead with a product called Me Mercado, which is a B2B marketplace where we're digitizing a market that is not as advanced as certain developed countries such as North America. So Me Mercado is a B2B marketplace that provides easy and efficient access to products for small and medium businesses or mom and pop shops, which we call tienditas in Mexico. The e-commerce platform offers several product categories from food and beverage to health to pet supplies and more at competitive prices. It really enables tiendita owners, which we refer to as tenderos, to find products at more competitive prices without ever having to leave their businesses, which traditionally they would have to do in order to source all of their inventory for their stores.
Thanks, Riddhi, for that overview. So we've mentioned now what Me Mercado is and some of its purpose, but I'd love to go into a little bit more about what was Zetec's motivation for starting memercado.com. And before you answer that, I'd just like to share with our audience, if you guys have questions, please do share those as well with our Q&A widget that you see on your screen. We'll be getting to those towards the end of our conversation today. So again, Riddhi, could you go into a little bit about why Zetec started this property?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, Mexico is a very large market in Latin America, and we noticed this trend of digitization in the market of food and beverages. At the same time, we saw this pain point for mom and pop shops that we traditionally sold beer to for several years, that they have a pain point around purchasing inventory. They required to shut down their stores and go out to multiple wholesalers to find inventory at competitive prices, which is where we felt we had an opportunity to truly innovate in the space with memercado.com.
Excellent, thank you. And now, Tom, I'd like to talk a little bit about the anatomy of the actual Me Mercado website. So as the SI and implementer of the site, could you go into a little bit of background on what the technological architecture is and why you decided to take that approach?
Certainly, Andrew. So on the slide, it may look a little bit overwhelming for non-techies, but let me try to simplify the general concept of marketplaces, and then we'll get into some of the specifics on the architecture diagram. So a marketplace or a platform economy model essentially takes the traditional pipeline, which is a very linear and difficult to scale business model of e-commerce, into enabling or outsourcing a lot of the actual hard work to third-party sellers. So in this diagram, you'll see on the top left the customers, the buyers, and on the bottom you'll see the sellers, the vendors, who are that network of third-party sellers that are going to integrate into the marketplace. And on the right, or the top right, you'll see ZTech. So a marketplace operator has consoles and ability to manage what's going on in terms of curating products, categories, sellers, controlling the quality, and on the seller side, and also, of course, managing the customer-facing side of things. So we see 4 horizontal swim lanes here, customers at the top, sellers at the bottom. The second row swim lane across from the top is the e-commerce layer, which is the customer-facing side of things, and that's where we have Magento, our PWA, Progressive Web App, as a front end, headless front end, and Akeneo as a PIM. I'll talk a little bit about that. But again, the top half is the customer-facing side, and the bottom half, the blue boxes, that's the seller-facing or vendor-facing marketplace side. In this case, we use Miracle Marketplace Platform to manage the sellers, orders, offers, etc. So now let's delve into the details of each of those major groups. So on the front end, the customer-facing e-commerce layer, again, we use Magento and Adobe product, a great platform we've been using for many years, and there are many large-scale sites, some doing billions of dollars a year with Magento. So it's very scalable, great platform that we like working with, and also very extensible. This can be operated in the cloud, in either Magento Cloud, or it can be on-premise as an e-commerce platform, either with its own front end, or in this case, we used something fairly innovative and new to market, a Progressive Web App, or PWA, as a front end. Highly performant, operates in a low bandwidth model like you see a lot in Latin America. I can talk a little bit about that a little bit later. Akeneo is a PIM, Product Information Management, for managing catalogs and merchandising information. So information there can be managed, as well as in the Magento console for managing catalogs, offers, and so forth. And you have the traditional search, cart, checkout, order management, all within Magento. And that platform connects with cloud offerings for tax payments, fraud check, and so forth. This is especially important for U.S. clients, where the tax nexus depends on, not in the traditional e-commerce model where it's your distribution center or your center of operations, but it's each of your sellers or the individual seller who is selling a product and the customer's location, where you have to map those two together. Again, more relevant in the U.S. for U.S. tax calculation. And of course, on the right side from the e-commerce, you'll export data into your analytics, business intelligence, and accounting systems, and have some of the administration interfaces into your e-commerce customer-facing system. Now that third swim lane on the bottom, which is Miracle, you'll see where Miracle manages the sellers, imports the seller information, imports their catalog, integrates their offers. An offer is an individual price on a product. So there may be multiple offers or prices and inventory from multiple sellers on a product in a marketplace, unlike traditional e-commerce. So Miracle handles all that through the catalog integrator and goes into the catalog manager, which feeds into Akeneo, the PIM, Product Information Management System. And Miracle also manages the orders, the marketplace, and provides a console or an operator portal for the marketplace operator, ZTech in this case, to manage all those sellers, the orders, the catalogs, the curation, and so forth of that. Miracle is a great platform for marketplaces. It's really the leading and kind of only player at the enterprise scale of enterprise class marketplaces. Great platform for platforming your business. Again, below that, we have the sellers, which can be integrated either through a GUI, graphical user interface, where they can, typically a smaller seller with a small catalog will manually upload their catalog and accept orders through APIs, which can be programmatic interfaces if they have like a Shopify or Magento or other systems for managing their commerce or their catalogs and so forth, or through a vendor aggregation network, a VAN, like a Channel Advisor, where you can quickly import large numbers of sellers and large catalogs of of products for your customers.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you going into depth on that. Shannon, thanks for being with us. So my question for you is, how did the technology selected for Me Mercado enable the end results that you were looking for?
Oh, thanks so much for asking. You know, as you saw with the solution architecture slide, Magento Commerce really is the core of the digital experience for Me Mercado. It's powering everything needed to drive sales as well as run the commerce operation. So things like search and navigation, promotions, the cart itself, and account and order management functionality all is coming from Magento Commerce. And as it was mentioned, Me Mercado is using Vue for their customer experience for the front end. And we're seeing this more and more often in enterprises, that they're adopting PWA technology like Vue because of the better performance, development flexibility, as well as the app-like experience that they can offer to their customers. And Magento enables PWAs as well as several other different types of headless options by providing commerce services via efficient GraphQL APIs. You know, also keep in mind that Magento Commerce is very much a stable and secure platform that powers literally thousands of digital commerce sites and processes billions of dollars in sales a year. It's backed by Adobe, one of the world's largest software companies, and is recognized as a leader by both Forrester and Gartner for B2B and B2C commerce. And this ability to support both B2B and B2C audiences from the same platform is really one of the key reasons why companies select Magento Commerce. Another major benefit or kind of unique benefit of Magento is the ecosystem of thousands of technology developers and companies that support it. Miracle is a great example. They provide marketplace functionality for Me Mercado, and they have a pre-built extension that allows them to seamlessly integrate with the platform for a faster time to market. It's the same story with Akinio. They also have an extension that speeds integration, and there are literally thousands of other off-the-shelf extensions that give you the flexibility to meet your requirements. One last point, Magento Commerce is also designed to scale and support enterprise requirements, like the ones we talked about today for Me Mercado. Really everything, we can handle everything from high SKU counts, those peak traffic periods during holiday seasons and other times, as well as serving multiple markets or multiple brands. It's really very much an enterprise level solution and ready to grow with your business. So with that, I think that's just going to wrap us up for now. Let's move on to the Q&A session.
Sounds good to me. Thanks very much, Shannon. So it looks like we've had several questions. Sounds very good. Looks like we've had several questions come in. Let's take a start with number one. In terms of the architecture of the solution, why was the decision made to go with a progressive web app on the front end, and why Vue Storefront for that feature? Tom, if you wouldn't mind answering that one, I think you'd be best suited to take this.
Sure thing, Andrew. So we selected a PWA in collaboration with ZTech on this architecture going forward for a number of reasons. Let me take a step back and explain a little bit more about PWA, and then that can help drive the understanding of the decision to go with that route. So a PWA, Progressive Web App, it sounds like an app, like a native mobile app, but it's actually not an app. You don't need to go to Google Play Store or Apple Store to download it. It's going to a website, much like you would go to a responsive website, but it has a lot of the features of a native app. It has the benefits of that with the benefits of a responsive website. So you really gain the benefits. It's kind of the best of both worlds of a responsive website plus native apps without a lot of the negatives of going either route on that. So in this case, the reason we selected the PWA was predominantly because of the functionality and low bandwidth situations for Latin America. A lot of folks do not have, 4G or certainly not 5G in most locations, and even spotty 3G in some locations. So great thing about PWAs is they can download and cache a lot of functionality so that the user experience can still be highly performant in low bandwidth situations. Much like in a native app, once you have the native app installed on your phone, you don't need to, the data requirements are much less because a lot of the logic's on your site. Some of the other benefits of PWA is it certainly can be fast, and Google and other SEO rankings are much, much better when you have a faster user experience on the website. It works offline in most of the cases, all the way up to checkout oftentimes. It can be cross-platform, so you don't have to write a specific iOS app and a specific Google Android app and a website. You can even install it on your home screen. So on your phone, you can add it as an icon, much like if you had an app installed from the device store. Unlike native apps, though, you can actually deep link into certain products. So if you want to have a link to a specific product on PWA, you can do that, whereas in native apps, you don't have URL addressable sites there. And likewise, it's also not searchable in the search sites, SEO sites. Much easier management of one application across multiple platforms, no user updates. You don't have to go to the store of the device and get updates. So all in all, it's much better. Again, the benefits of responsive and native all combined into one. And it's really, we view it as the next generation of headless after responsive and some of the other API-driven platforms. And again, leveraging some new technologies like GraphQL in there. And I think the second part of the question was why View storefronts. We looked at a number of different options. Magento itself has a platform for PWA, and I think Magento is the only platform, or certainly the first platform, to offer PWA capabilities native within the stack of the solution. But also, as Shannon mentioned, there's a very community-driven support for the platform, and a lot of organizations will write extensions and add-ons. And after looking at a variety of different PWA front ends for Magento, we selected the Vue storefront, VUE, which is named after the Vue JavaScript framework. So it's a very good, highly performant, very robust system. Again, this is still a little bit on the bleeding edge, so there were some things to work out in building out a PWA with Marketplace and a lot of advanced capabilities, but in the end, it works very well. I think we've got the performance and the user experience and the capabilities that we really wanted from the PWA. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. And to our listeners, please don't be shy with submitting questions. Looks like we have about 4 that are coming in right now, but we're going to have plenty of time to answer those. So please do submit them. The second one I see is, why was the Mexico market selected to launch this concept? Riddy, would you mind answering that one for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Andrew. So the Mexico market was chosen for a number of reasons. The Mexico market is the 11th largest packaged food market in the world, with a projected $70 billion in sales by 2024 and 27% growth rate year over year, as well as it's a very large market for Anheuser-Busch, where we have a great presence with Grupo Modelo. So ZTech found that this would be a market where we have an opportunity to truly innovate for small and medium businesses who are very underserved in Mexico. The traditional trade market does not have a lot of digital options for purchasing inventory for their stores, and we found that we could really win or provide a solution to help small and medium business owners in this space, and that's why Me Mercado was brought to life. And the way we decided to build Me Mercado was so that it could be scalable to cross borders. Thanks, Andrew.
Excellent. Yeah, no, thank you for that answer. Yeah, we're seeing a couple more questions here. And to our listeners, again, if we can't get to this today, we'll definitely be able to follow up with you after the session is concluded. So don't hesitate to ask us anything that's on your minds. This next question is for Shannon. Shannon, you referenced flexible front-end options for Magento. We currently use AEM for the front end of our websites. Does AEM function as a front end for Magento?
Great question. As I talked about before, Magento Commerce supports all different ways of creating that front-end experience. We have built-in capabilities with Page Builder and our PWA Studio, like Tom just mentioned, and we also support third-party solutions like Vue. But also equally important is that we integrate with AEM. So we have a full integration framework that allows AEM users to build out commerce sites using the authoring tools and workflows that they're already familiar with. And basically they're pulling in product and pricing information and leveraging key commerce services from Magento within that interface. So you get all the experience management advantages of AEM, the ability to reuse and optimize content for all sorts of different touch points, dynamically adapt it to different audiences and so forth, and that's combined with full B2B and B2C commerce capabilities. So it's a really powerful combination that we're seeing lots of enterprises, particularly in like consumer packaged good areas, really wanting to leverage. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The next question that we have is, it was mentioned that there was marketplace functionality was mentioned within the presentation. What does that add to a customer experience as opposed to an e-commerce website? Riddy, would you mind answering this one for us first? And then Tom, if you wanted to add something, I think that could be great.
Absolutely. Great question, Andrew. So as you know, Me Mercado today is an e-commerce website that allows small and medium businesses to purchase all of their inventory online. However, if you take a step back and understand how these business owners are purchasing their inventory today, without Me Mercado, it would be going to multiple wholesalers and distributors and price comparing on pen and paper, if you may, the price of different goods. So a marketplace functionality would give them that same level of price comparison functionality without them having to leave their stores. It also gives them price transparency and more visibility into pricing from multiple suppliers, which they do not have today, or oftentimes don't have the time to do so. So there isn't necessarily a digital catalog that exists for all of the wholesalers and distributors that they visit today. So from a customer experience standpoint, being able to provide this functionality digitally really empowers them to purchase all of their inventory for their stores at the best prices, and also take much more of an ownership of how they're spending their money and where they're spending it to make smarter business decisions. So it's invaluable, if you may, from a customer experience standpoint, to give someone that level of price transparency, very similar to any other marketplace that's B2C. You can enable the end user to see the price from several different sellers and then make the choice to buy from one seller or the other. And Tom, feel free to add on.
Riddy did a great job explaining the tactical reasons for Me Mercado and its great business opportunity for AB InBev and ZTech to do so. Maybe I'll step back and take a look at the bigger picture in terms of trends in the marketplace, or the market, I should say, of marketplace implementations and scalability. And the biggest commerce sites in the world, from Alibaba and Amazon and even Walmart's transition from Jet to their own marketplace, have really done that. What the buzzword is, platform your business. So it makes your business more of a platform instead of a pipeline. And let me kind of explain that. A platform really enables sellers and buyers to interact, and you just take a percentage commission on that transaction. So a majority of Amazon's transactions, for example, are from third-party sellers, and they just charge whatever percentage commission to gain the profit from that, and that enables them to scale because they don't have to. The marketplace operator doesn't need to merchandise the product, doesn't need to manage and hold the inventory, doesn't need to ship the inventory. Often also provides customer support, really bring out that long tail of catalog diversity, and this is where not only the big products retailers that I mentioned, Alibaba, Amazon, Walmart, are implementing very successful marketplaces, but even services are coming now as as very successful marketplaces, from the Instacarts and DoorDash to Uber and Airbnb. These are all examples of marketplaces or platforms that enable just the transaction or interaction between sellers and buyers and take a percentage commission on that. And that's really where a lot of the trend of retail, commerce, and business opportunity, and again, some of the largest companies in the world in the Fortune 500 or by market cap are platform businesses in one form or another.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate you answering that. So we have another question here. So thanks Josiah for asking. Is there any roadmap or timeline for Me Mercado to scale in North America? I would give this one to you, Rudy. If you obviously you may be a little bit sensitive, but if there's anything you can add about this, I'd love to hear it.
Absolutely, great question, Jose. As you know, we're a young company that went live earlier this year, so our focus is really focused on the end user, the small and medium business owner of Mexico, and our focus will continue to be that for the next little while. So that's what I would like to say there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Another question that I see coming in terms of B2B considerations in general, how different are buyer expectations from retail e-commerce? Tom, maybe I'll pitch that one to you, and then Shannon, if you have anything to add to that, that would be wonderful to hear.
Sure. There's definitely a lot of functional requirements in B2B that B2C does not have. So organizational modeling, approval workflows, organizational spending limits, multiple payment types, credit or purchase orders, multiple ship-to addresses, client-specific pricing or contract-based pricing, tiered pricing as well, catalog-specific activation or product activation by client. So there are a lot of functional requirements. The nice thing about Magento is that in one platform, it does offer both the B2C and B2B capabilities. So it's with Magento, it is easy to serve both B2C and B2B and leverage the capabilities of B2B for those clients, but also have that great rich B2C experience for the B2B clients. And as more millennials and more people experienced with the Amazon way of doing business enter the B2B procurement workforce, we're seeing more and more of that B2C user experience expectation with, of course, those functional capabilities of the B2B business model.
You're absolutely right, Tom. That's what we've been seeing more and more. Really, there's an expectation that's been sent by all of their B2B buyers' consumer purchasing habits. So when they're going to Amazon or other sites, that sort of set the bar for what they expect to have when they're doing their business purchasing. Now, of course, it needs to support, some of the requirements that you see in B2B, where it's a company as opposed to an individual making the purchase, and all the controls that need to be in place for that. But ultimately, that end experience needs to feel somewhat like a consumer experience. Great product images, rich product information, the ability to make comparisons, to see ratings and reviews by their peer group to help them, guide their purchasing, strong search capabilities to be able to quickly surface the right products for a given need. All those same kinds of expectations are there for a B2B purchaser, and so they really need a platform that can provide that kind of experience as opposed to just being a simple transaction. So very much the level of sophistication that we're seeing for B2B commerce sites is increasing, and it's only growing faster now with kind of the changes that we're seeing in the market and how really B2B buyers are having to interact with their vendors via e-commerce sites more and more with our current situation.
Thanks very much for that response as well, Shannon. And thank you and Tom and Rudy for being here with me today. It's been my privilege to moderate this conversation. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for now, but to our listeners, as I mentioned before, any questions that we don't get to now, we'll be following up with you at a later time. So please do submit those, even though we are at the end of our time limit for today. Just want to extend a big thank you to our panelists once more before I turn it over to our program director for his closing remarks. Thank you everyone for being here. Really hope you have enjoyed the experience as much as I have. And, thanks again for your thoughtful answers.
Thank you.